what defines anthropology is that its object is symbolically constituted. When my teacher, Leslie White, used to always say, an ape can't understand the difference between holy water and distilled water. Only human beings could understand that. Because the water is essentially chemically the same, but the meaning is totally different. We traffic in meanings. And I'll tell you something else about that. We have a great deal of advantage over even physics when it comes to understanding our object. A physicist, if he wanted to understand the nature of this, table, would have to start deconstructing it to talk about, the molecules and the spaces between the molecules. It becomes something. Every step you take in physics is distant from human experience till you come to quantum mechanics, where a thing has to be in two different places at the same time, which is, of course, beyond anything that we could comprehend. But on the other hand, if you take cultural difference, like, say, something I study, Fijian cannibalism. So in 1929, this chief had a great big canoe built on the old style by a carpenter who was a craftsman by lineage. And in the old days, it was a great reward. This is a sacred canoe. There was a great compensation paid to the carpenter. And the chief said, giving various gifts, he said, I'm sorry that we can't really give what we should. He said, I should give you a cooked man or a raw woman, but I can't because Christianity has spoiled our feasts. Now, an anthropologist who would come across that text would wonder what is the equivalence, for example, between a cooked man and a raw woman. Well, a cooked man is obviously a cannibal victim who's been cooked and is going to be eaten after having been dedicated to the gods, and who, by means of which dedication, the people who dedicate the enemy victim will prosper, will have more children, their crops will be good, and so on. A raw woman is obviously a virgin daughter who, when given in betrothal to a man, will produce children and so on. So a cooked man and a raw woman have the same finality. They produce the same things in different ways. And consequently, they're equivalent. Now, I see a lot of people in this room nodding. You begin to understand that. It's logical. But logic is something that goes on inside you. What has happened? What has happened is that a custom which is obviously foreign and even repulsive, like cannibalism, the more you talk about, understand its relation to the society, the more it becomes part of your understanding and something familiar to you, to the extent that you reproduce in your own mind the way this is constructed. What we have in anthropology is this tremendous advantage of being able to reproduce in our own minds, because we are of the same quality as the people and the objects that they produce, that we can produce those objects mentally just as they do, and must before they're even produced in reality, as Marx told us. So that we can reproduce in our own mind as anthropologists the way this thing is constructed, because it's meaningfully constructed. And so we have an ability to know our object in a much more fundamental and powerful way than physicists can know their object, which forever must remain foreign to them. So we make nothing foreign is human to us, to them, and nothing foreign is not human to us. It has to be human, and what we do when we analyze culture, since it is meaningfully constructed, we analyze the meaning, we appropriate the meaning that's something going on inside ourselves. Logic is something going on in your mind. So you've reproduced in your mind the way it's constructed. Voila, I mean, you've got a power that no physicist could have, and which they could envy for the rest of their existence, but they don't understand.
Gobierno de México.